Hey guys, what's up? Thanks so much for stopping by. In today's video, I'm gonna be sharing with you the ultimate drugstore makeup kit. Now, this video is gonna be a little long because it was hard for me to just dwindle down to one product for each category, especially when there's those of us that have normal skin and dry skin, oily skin. So there's kind of an option for everyone. The beauty of drugstore makeup these days is that they've definitely stepped up not only like the quality, but the variety as well. Back in the day when it came to drugstore makeup, it was kind of like, okay, you get what you pay for. But these days, I feel like there are so many drugstore products where you could go in, slap a high-end label on it, put it at Sephora, and most of us would not know the difference. Obviously, drugstore makeup in price has definitely increased as well, but it's still more affordable than high-end options out there. So never feel pressured to buy your makeup at a department store or Sephora or the high-end version at Ulta. There's so many gems at the drugstore, so I'm gonna go through some of my favorites with you. So if you are new to makeup or if you're just looking to try out other drugstore makeup, then this video is definitely for you. If you guys love it and find it helpful, I would really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. It definitely helps me and my channel out. And without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. I thought the best way to introduce these products are just in the order that I apply them. So starting off with primers, I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off with my newest addition. This is from Wet n Wild. I've featured this in several videos now. This is their new Glass Correct primer base. I have it in Brighten. It also comes in a green shade as well, but this is the yellow banana one. Do not be afraid of the color though. It just applies like a sheer, slightly gold pearlescent glow on your skin, but nothing crazy. I mean, you can still fully see your skin under it, but it just adds not only hydration, but just a really nice glowy base. I feel like both oily and dry skin could use this because while it does provide a dewy, glowy finish, it's nothing that leaves behind any sort of greasy or tacky residue. This primer here is from the Revlon Photo Ready Prime Plus line. This is the Perfecting and Smoothing. There's either 2 or 3 different options in this line. I definitely prefer the pink one the most. So while it says Perfecting and Smoothing, it's not one of those heavy, thick silicone, almost like pilling type of primers. It does smooth, but it has more of a gel-like texture. It just isn't overly heavy on the skin. I know back in the day, we used to all love the Benefit Professional, the Smashbox, isn't that Photo Ready? No, Photo Finish, like dimethicone thick type of primer. This still gives that same blurring effect without feeling quite as heavy on the skin. And then the very final primer, this is the e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. I love this primer. It took me forever to try this one just because a lot of people had just described it like the Tatcha one, and I actually wasn't crazy about the Tatcha Putty version. I much prefer the pump version of it. I find that this one is a little bit more slick, but it still does a great job of blurring and smoothing out pores. I don't have any issues of it rolling up and pilling under any sort of foundation. Okay, moving on to foundation. This is where the pressure just really fell on because there's so many foundations that I really do love from the drugstore. So I thought I would go ahead and start off from like the lightest coverage moving upwards, but this actually isn't that light. I would say it's more of like a buildable medium coverage. This is another newer addition to my collection, but ever since I got it, I've been using it almost every single day. This is the Wet n Wild Tinted Hydrator. The only downside to this product is that the shade range isn't very good. I'm really hoping that Wet n Wild is going to expand it just like they did with the Photofocus line. But this has hyaluronic acid and squalane. Wow. Squalane. I just simply adore this product. I'm gonna go ahead and link the video right here where I talked all about it. I don't want to talk too much about it because I featured it in my monthly favorites, then I did another video. It's good. Okay, if you're looking for a light, clearly I love it. I'm like spitting all over the place. If you're looking for a light, buildable, medium, just everyday type of foundation, tinted moisturizer, I say more foundation than tinted moisturizer, please give this a shot. It's under $5 and it's just so beautiful. And then my other foundation is actually another one from Wet n Wild. This is the Photofocus, but the dewy one. I personally hated the original one. It smelled exactly like paint. If you're more on the oily side, you'd probably prefer the original formula. It has great buildable coverage. It's easily one of my most used foundations in my collection. If you love any other foundations that I tend to recommend and you haven't tried this one yet, please give it a go. Not only is it one of my favorite foundations at the drugstore, but it's one of my favorite foundations in general, whether we're talking high-end or drugstore. It's just such a great formula. And then finally, if you're looking for something more full coverage, glam, all day wear, let's say you have long work hours or you're just someone who really appreciates a full day wear type of coverage without feeling heavy on your skin. This is the L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Freshwear Foundation. I'm currently using the shade 480. The reason that I love this formula so much is because it's super thin and runny. With one layer, you get great coverage, but if you're really wanting to amp it up, you're wanting to cover everything on your face, you could definitely go in with 2 layers, 3 layers if you must, but I honestly feel like 2 is probably plenty for most. Typically, whenever you find a full coverage foundation, it's very heavy on the face, it's very matte, it's very drying, it's very thick. This is none of those things. If you are really dry, obviously you do want to go in and really prep the skin first, but for being full coverage, it definitely still is more on the lighter, thinner side. Moving on to setting spray, I just have one here. Unfortunately, it is a little bit more pricey for being at the drugstore, and it's one that you can only find at Target. I'm pretty sure, right? Isn't Pixi exclusive to Target? This is the Pixi Glow Mist with propolis and argan oil. I have tried the Catrice Prime and Fine Dewy Mist. This is definitely more for my normal to dry skin folks, because if you're really oily, I don't think you would appreciate the dewiness and glowiness that this gives. If you're someone who loves wearing stick foundations, for instance, the Wet n Wild Photofocus stick. I don't know what happened to my voice there. This guy here, this combination, I like to spritz this all over my face and then just glide the stick right on, and the finish is just so nice. Sometimes the stick on its own can feel like it slightly tugs, but having this as a base underneath, it's just a dream team combo. Moving on to concealer, I just have 2 different types here. I know whenever it comes to drugstore concealers, I feel like most people recommend the e.l.f. Camo Concealer. The original one felt too dry on my under eyes, and then the hydrating one was just, it was kind of okay to me. I don't know, like I've given it multiple shots. It's not bad by any means, but for me personally, this is just the formula that I prefer more. I do have drier, wrinklier, unfortunately, under eyes, and I have no problems with this. This is the Catrice Liquid Camouflage High Coverage Concealer. Today I'm wearing the shade 047 Medium Rose. Super affordable product, lasts up to 12 hours, waterproof and non-transfer. If we're talking more about like brighteners and color correctors, sorry, the sun, it hates me today. These are the Maybelline Instant Age Rewinds. I have both a brightener and neutralizer. If you like more of a bright, like pinky type of corrector, go with brightener. Brightener. But if you like more of a peachy yellow, go with neutralizer. I can't even say how many of the brighteners that I've gone through. This is a product that I have used for years and years. I don't think I'll ever stop using it. Setting powders. I thought I would go ahead and do like 2 loose powders and then 2 pressed powders, just because I know everybody kind of likes their own thing. If you don't have dry under eyes, I think the Maybelline Fit Me Loose Setting Powder would work great for you. Fortunately, it's a little bit too dry for me this time of the year for my under eyes. However, it works great if I'm wanting to set the lower portions of my face. I'm getting washed out again by the sun. This is frustrating. But if you're more on the normal to oily side, or you're just younger, you don't have really dry under eyes, or even if you are older and you don't have dry under eyes, this one is a great option. One that I find to be a little bit more forgiving for the dryness on my under eyes is the JCat Beauty Luxe Pro Powder in Porcelain. They make these in several different shades. They're basically like dupes of the Bed Nye loose setting powders, but Porcelain is amazing. Moving on to pressed powders, the number 7 Lift and Luminate Triple Action Finishing Powder in Light. I purchased this because Jessica Braun is always raving about it for her under eyes, and I can see why. It's a very soft and silky powder. I mean, it really does almost have this blurring effect to it. I love to use this even on the sides of my nose where I have those larger pores. I know last week number 7 was 20% off at Target. If it still is, I would definitely snatch it up. This one I believe retails for $12.99. The only thing is I think there's only 3 or 4 shades in it, but I don't really use it for actual like coverage, more for just kind of setting everything. I don't find that the light really adds actual coverage. See what I mean? It truly does kind of work just like a translucent setting powder. It doesn't look overly white on my under eyes. It just kind of sets the concealer in place and helps slightly blur those fine lines, which I think anyone and everyone could appreciate. Now, for an actual powder foundation, if you are someone who does not like liquid foundations, or if you're someone that just likes to mix it up, or if you're someone that likes to set your liquid foundation with a powder foundation for full coverage, the JCat Beauty Aquasurance powder. This is hands down like the best powder foundation out there. The name is perfect. I've talked about this a million times, but something about it truly does feel just very light and somehow hydrating on the face. It doesn't go on like a typical pressed powder. Since it has that somewhat like hydrating quality, you could use it if you're dry, even if you're oily. It's just such an amazing powder foundation. The coverage is incredible. If you go in and you buff this on your face, you're gonna get full coverage, but you can still keep it light and simple as well. Hands down, one of the most underrated pressed powders out there. I really want the drugstore to come out with some more cream bronzers. One of my favorites is from Physicians Formula. I don't really want to talk about this one though because there's only 2 shades, so that's kind of a bummer. So I guess we will just stick to powder bronzers. Now, even with bronzers, there's so many different choices, there's so many different shades, but I just wanted to quickly mention the ones that I love. If you're just looking for a very warm toned, even slightly red, obviously there are more neutral tones, but if you do like a more red warm tone bronzer, the L'Oreal Bronze Please Latera in number 4 is amazing. This is actually my second one. The first one I had created a big dent in and then I dropped it, and since it was thin on the outside, it shattered, which was really sad. But I just adore this bronzer. It is the bronzer that I'm wearing today. It's a very forgiving formula. There are lots of bronzers out there where even if you just get the tiniest bit on a brush, if you don't blend it properly, you look like a muddy, crazy mess. This you can really build up. It's just a very easy, foolproof formula. If you want more of a shimmery finish bronzer, the Revlon Skinlights Prismatic Bronzer, I have mine in 110 Sunlit Glow. This is so beautiful. In the pan, it looks very kind of blah and boring. I will just apply this all over my cheeks and kind of just use it as my blush, bronzer, and highlighter in one. It just creates this beautiful, glowy bronze to the face. The whole Skinlights line, I love. I have a highlighter that I'm going to mention as well. And then I know everyone loves and raves about the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. While I love that, I'm someone who prefers more of a warm bronzer. I don't mind more of like an orangey type of bronze. So I wanted to mention their Matte Monoi Butter Bronzer. I'm not sure how many shades this one comes in. For instance, the Butter Bronzer, Muru Muru Butter Bronzer. I know there's like bronzer and then deep and then like light bronze or something like that. I actually prefer the Matte Monoi version much more. It's so beautiful. It still has that really nice coconut type of scent to it. This is their new All-Star face palette. They definitely listened to their customers because whenever Physicians Formula first launched their whole like butter palette, it was so thick and bulky. A perfume came in it. It was just way too much. This is much thinner. If you haven't seen this yet, in here you get 2 bronzers, 2 highlighters, a all over pressed powder, and then one of their happy blushes. All right, next up, blushes. There are so many different cream blushes at the drugstore now. I have tried several. I do have a video coming up talking about cream blushes, but these have been my ride or die for years now. I absolutely love these products so much. These are from Flower Beauty and they are the blush bombs. One of my all-time favorite shades is Cinnamon. I also love Pinched. I love Nectar. They do provide more of a dewy finish. I just like to squeeze them on the back of my hands and then either go in with my fingers and tap it in or a stippling brush. The overall finish is just so beautiful. It is what I have on my cheeks today. It doesn't ever like fully dry down to a powder, but it just kind of sets almost like a tint on its own. Formula that looks very healthy on the skin. We are talking about powder blushes. These are my 2 favorites. First up, we have the Milani Rose blushes. Romantic Rose and Awakening Rose are definitely my 2 favorites. When it comes to blushes, I just prefer more of like a peachy or mauve tone blush, more so than like a pink blush. But if you do like more of a coral or a pink, they do offer those shades as well. These apply just like a high-end blush. I feel like you could easily repackage these, throw them on a shelf at Sephora or Ulta in the high-end section, and nobody would be disappointed. It's just such a great formula, long wearing, easily blendable, just beautiful. These L'Oreal Paradise blushes, the shade 190 Bashful. If you're just looking for an everyday, easy, neutral blush, I love this one. It's another shade that looks very dull and boring in the pan, but on the cheeks, if you're like me, you like more of just the natural peachy type of blushes, I think you would love this one. Do you see that? It has more of like a peachy coral base, but then it has this very nice golden sheen. During the spring and summer months, I adore this blush. It's so pretty. All right, now moving on to highlighters, and then we will get to eyes, lips, brows. I know this video is long, but I wanted to give you guys options. I wanted you to be prepared whenever you step your little feet in the drugstore if you've never bought makeup before. Okay, for highlighters, I have 3 different options here. I have another product from JCat Beauty. I feel like JCat's kind of an underrated brand. I love a lot of their products. This is their You Glow Girl Baked Highlighter in Crystal Sand. Looks like a big old boob. We've talked about this before, but basically if Baloney Barb tweaked her little nips in a makeup compact, it would look like this. What I really like about this highlighter though is while yes, it can look crazy intense, you can also go in and I mean just tap on the lightest amount and really blend it out to where it's not one of those gleaming highlights, but it just has more of this glow from within type of look. I know with the heavy swatch, it looks like it's a straight up icy highlighter. I'm not a fan of those either, but like I said, once it's blended in, you get a little bit more of like this golden pearlescent sheen to it. It's so pretty. There's no actual glitter. It's just more of that sheen, like reflective sheen. And then remember earlier I said I had one other product from the Revlon Skinlights line. This is their Prismatic highlighter in the shade 202 Twilight Gleam. This is definitely more of a champagne color. If you've ever come across the Skinlights line at the drugstore, I can't vouch for the liquid products. I'm pretty sure there's a few liquid items in the line, but the powder ones, you won't be disappointed. And then finally, if you're someone who just likes a straight up gleaming, beaming into space highlighter, we have one from Pixi. This is their Glowy Gossamer Duo in Delicate Dew. Check this puppy out. Wah, wah. Aren't those pretty? So you have more of like a pinky pearl highlighter and then more of a golden champagne highlighter. So that's all for complexion. Now we can go ahead and move on to eyes. I just grabbed a few palettes here. These days there's so many different options at the drugstore, but these are just some of my top ones that I wanted to share with you. Well, I guess top brands. First up, Profusion. You can find this both at Target and Walmart. The Mirage is definitely my favorite. There's so many different color stories. I believe these retail for $12.98, $13. At Walmart, you get a ton of shades in here. If you are a orange, warm-toned, red, purple shadow lover like myself, the Mirage is stunning. The mattes in here perform great. One of my all-time favorite shades from Profusion though, this came in their Sapphires palette. This shade here, Mellow for my brow bone shade. As you can see, I've hit Pan and then Camel. If you're just looking for a great warm transition shade, this one is amazing. I don't really play too much with the other colors because I don't wear blue eyeshadows that often, but I wish they just made like a duo or singles of these 2 shades because I reach for them all the time. They are so creamy. I actually find that the Profusion mattes perform better than the shimmers. The shimmers aren't necessarily bad, but the mattes are definitely where it's at. One holy grail palette from the drugstore, once again, if you are a warm-toned orange shadow lover, the Flower Beauty Suns Blazing. Not only are the shadows in here great, but this little brush is freaking amazing. Clearly mine needs to be washed, but if you have smaller lids like myself, or you have hooded eyes where you really want to go in and like concentrate that color in one area, this brush is so nice. But I adore this palette. I've actually heard mixed reviews on it, and I don't know why, because I think they are amazing. The shimmers are nice, but just like the Profusion ones, I definitely prefer the mattes over the shimmers. And then 2 other options, the e.l.f. Bite Size Shadows. There's, I believe, like 8 to 10 different little palettes or quads in these now. This is another formula that is great, especially for $2.99. Fortunately, I dropped my Truffles one, so that metallic shade is broken, but the black in here and the deep rich brown, these are great quality. And then one other option that I wanted to mention from the drugstore, quickly just talking about the Wet n Wild palettes. The new ones in the white packaging aren't as good. I don't know what happened, but these like Rose in the Air, Peach something, all of those are great options. If you have straight stubborn lashes, please get waterproof. That is the key. My 3 holy grails from the drugstore, we have a newer release, Maybelline Sky High is amazing, Essence Lash Princess in waterproof, and then my favorite lower lash mascara. I don't use this at all for my top lashes, so I don't mind that it's not waterproof because my lower lashes don't really have to hold a curl. But the Ardell Precision Mascara, this has a top and bottom side. I don't even bother with the top side, but the bottom is just this really nice, small, precise brush. Just like my upper lashes, my lower lashes are very wimpy, so I just need a small brush. If I go in with anything too thick, mascara gets all over the place and it's not a good look. And then for eyebrows, where did you go? Both of my products are from Maybelline. There are so many different brow pencils at the drugstore. The CoverGirl one is a little bit too creamy for me. The Maybelline one wasn't bad, but no, not Maybelline. The L'Oreal one wasn't bad. That was probably my second favorite, but my first favorite is definitely the Maybelline Brow Ultra Slim. I use mine in the shade Black Brown, so just your traditional retractable brow pencil with a spoolie on the other side. However, if you are more of a pomade person, you could always go in with the Maybelline Studio or Tattoo Studio brow pomade. I really don't reach for pomades too much anymore. I'm definitely more of a pencil gal myself. Eyeliners, I have two different options here. We have another product from Profusion. This is their Wing It Superfine Eyeliner. I am someone who sucks at liquid liner. No matter how much I do it, I feel like every single time I'm like, oh, the pressure. But look at the tip on this one. It is so fine. It creates the perfect little flick. It's a nice black, it dries down matte, it's not shiny. I really don't like the look of a shiny lacquered liquid liner. This one does dry nice flat and matte, and the tip makes it very easy to use. This is another great option because of how it feels in my hand. This is the Kokie Cosmetics retractable liquid eyeliner. This one is waterproof. As you can see, you can keep it short and tiny like this, which I like to do just because I feel like I have much more control over it. Or you can pull it up and then it can be a standard size liquid liner. I rarely use just a pencil eyeliner on my upper lash line. However, I love to use them on my waterline and my tight line. If you're looking for some great colors that just glide on smoothly, the Maybelline Lasting Drama matte eyeliners, this one here in Jade Olive is beautiful. If you just love a khaki green olive liner, this works great both on my waterline as well as my lower lash line. There's so many different shades to pick from. Or if you just like to do a quick little nude schmear on your waterline, these from Revlon, the Colorstay Micro Hyper Precision Gel Eyeliner. They also have these like in black, brown, purple, but this is great on my waterline. I have very watery eyes and I don't have any issues of this product just lasting on my eyes. Plus, I love how thin it is. All right, finally, we've made it to lips. One of the lip liners that I have used the longest and gone through, I mean, countless amounts are the NYX lip liners. They do have these in a retractable version as well. I still just prefer the old school original formula. Natural, Peekaboo Neutral, Mauve. Natural is definitely my most used. It's just a traditional wood pencil. They're amazing. You really can't go wrong with them. There's no need to buy a high-end lip liner unless there's just a color that you can't dupe. But honestly, lip liners from the drugstore work just as well as lip liners that are high-end. Then if you are wanting a retractable option, these from Kokie Cosmetics, they're called their retractable lip liners. I have the shade Nude, Warm Nude, and Dusty Rose. Clearly, I have a color family that I stick to. I've mentioned this before, but sometimes with retractable lip liners, they can be a little bit too creamy to where they almost like defeat the purpose and they feather out, they get all over the place. These definitely have a stiffer feel to them, so they're not slipping and sliding everywhere. They stay on your lips. I can line and fill my lips with them and just leave it at that, and they last. And there's so many beautiful colors. Plus, I just love the look. It almost has like a gripper on it. It reminds me of a lip liner that you would get at the book fair, and that just makes me happy. I actually didn't include any lipsticks because honestly, I'm more of a lip gloss person. I don't wear too many liquid lipsticks these days, except for these guys here. I decluttered all of my ColourPop and ABH liquid lipsticks forever ago. However, the Maybelline Superstay Matte Inks are incredible. There are so many different shades, but my three go-to are Groundbreaker, Globetrotter, and Amazonian. If you just want more of like a deep everyday nude, Amazonian is great. If you love a rich reddish orange lip, Globetrotter is amazing, and then Groundbreaker is just a great bold statement lip. These don't feel dry on the lips. However, they are like the longest wearing formula ever. They don't flake, they don't get crusty. And then for lip glosses, this was hard because I am a lip gloss junkie. I have so many glosses that I absolutely love and adore, but I really had to dwindle down. This is one that I talked about, I think in my yearly favorites or maybe a monthly favorites. This is the Revlon Super Lustrous, the gloss in the shade Indulge in It. I just love the color of this. I love the formula. The scent isn't the best, but I love the massive doe foot applicator. There's tons of shades to pick from, but if you like deeper mauve shades, please get this one. You will not be disappointed. And then the other two, these are actually called High Shine lipsticks, but I feel like they just look like a gloss. I guess lipstick because of the opacity of the pigmentation, but these are just the Wet n Wild Liquid Catsuits. Cedar Later and then Send Nudes are hands down my favorites. I'm not crazy about the actual matte liquid lipstick formula, but the High Shine ones are amazing. And if you love nudes, you will love these. And there you have it. Holy cow, this video was so long, but I really hope you guys found this video helpful. Let me know some of your like all-time favorite drugstore products. If there's something that you've never really seen me talk about on my channel, definitely let me know down below. As always, thanks so much for spending part of your day with me. If you haven't already, you can subscribe. It would mean the world to me. Check out one of these videos here if you're bored, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.